Welcome, welcome to Andromeda 7. Yes, your celestial gateway. Hey, it's good to see everybody tonight. We're back again. It's Friday night. Hope everybody had a really good week. You know, I heard you guys in Indiana got a lot of snow. And then, of course, we're on the West Coast. We're dealing with the wildfires and 10,000 structures destroyed and 10 people dead and total Armageddon. But hey, you know,
Hey, there's
here
Nick in this Greco.
Get back to work.
Yeah. So we're doing things a little different tonight. Instead of running the video, we're going to run the video in just a few minutes. But we want to say hello to everybody in chat. Welcome everyone in. Give you guys a few minutes to come in. It seems like what's happening is some of the notifications don't go out in time. And you guys are missing part of the program. Unless you're watching it later, then you get it. But
we have a newbie here tonight. Sean R. Vest, Sr.
What's up, buddy? Welcome.
Sean. Good to see you. Of course, we have Chloe in the house, our ride or die in the chat room, and one of the best moderators out there.
Yes, she is.
Yeah, Lucky Stone. Thank you for being here. Same. Love your channel. Love what you're doing over there, especially with Courtney. You guys make a great team, and also with Robert B. So it's a pleasure to watch you guys. Thank you for your contribution to the Soul Tribe. Yeah, most definitely.
Can't always be in there and catch you live, but we'll watch you later. And
we pay attention. We do pay
pretty
attention.
Good content, yes.
Yeah, we sure do. Elderberry, good to see you as well. Welcome. Yeah. Awesome. So as people are rolling in, I see you, Nick. Aren't you supposed to be working, Nick?
He's goofing off.
He's like,
ooh, he's working a forklift. Dun, dun, dun.
Careful.
Oh,
have eyes in the back of your head.
He says, I'm working covering someone else's SH, and I'm like, what?
Oh, okay.
Shift.
Yeah. Well, you know, Nick, shift happens.
Cool.
Love it. So tonight we are talking about harmony and creation and natural law. So this is interesting information. So tonight Sophia's got some really well done put together slides, and she's using Terry Ryan's book and information. You all remember Rev Terry Ryan. Hope he's doing well. And we'll run that quick video that I did for the show to give you a breakdown and a little understanding of what natural law is. Yep, there's the book. Yep, awesome. Yep, I have it. I read it. It's a great book, and it was a good, easy read too. So really well, good to understand. I think you can get that at Amazon. Just type in Rev Terry Ryan, and then you'll get that. Awesome stuff. So with, let's see what else. Oh, I got 3 slides I want to share at the end. And then of course we'll get Jasmine and Brian's their understanding of natural law and what that means to them. And of course, thank you, Jasmine, for being here. Thank you, Brian, for being here. Sophia, always a pleasure. And Teresa, my main sister, my soul sister on the channel. It's good to have you here. Yep.
Good to be here always with each and every one of you.
Yep. Appreciate y'all for sure. So let's go ahead without further ado. We'll go ahead and run the quick video. It's about 3 minutes. It's a good understanding of it. And then we'll get this party started. How's that sound?
Good. Hey, Morgan.
Awesome.
Yeah, sounds good.
All right, here we go. Understanding natural law. As I began to delve into the theory of natural law, I noticed some inconsistencies about what they truly are. There are many interpretations, and because of my attunement with spirit, I decided to ask my spirit guide for some clarity as to what they are. My guide explained that it is actually quite simple. Source, in its infinite wisdom, created natural law. It is a fact and based upon principles and truth inherent to creation. It is not a philosophy, theory, and cannot be changed. It is created by Source to assist humanity by giving us sovereignty and free will to discover good from evil and to make free will choices that serve the whole of humanity. We possess consciousness and are bound by it. No one is exempt from this law. The history of this concept was interpreted by the Greeks. They were the first to separate law from religious rites and blind faith. They believed that there were universal principles that governed the cosmos and applied to all people. The concept of natural law originated in ancient Greece and was developed by a number of Greek philosophers. Plato. While Plato didn't have a formal theory of natural law, he used the term natural to describe something human and to distinguish humans from animals. Aristotle. Aristotle is often considered the father of natural law theory. He believed that what is just by nature is not always the same as what is just by law. Sophists. The Sophists were a group of Greek philosophers who believed that nature was an order of things and not just a substance. They were the first to conceive of natural law principles. Stoics. The Stoics believed that natural law was standard for making, developing, and interpreting law. They believed that the fundamental moral principles of all legal systems could be reduced to natural law. Human beings are not taught natural law per se. Instead, we discover it by consistently making choices for good instead of evil. Some schools of thought believe that natural law is passed to humans via a divine presence. Finally, the natural law is universal law. It is the understanding that each of us, as a fractal of God's source and all that is consciousness, are bound by free will and sovereignty. It is your free will choice as to how you will honor it, either for good or evil, positive or negative. You must discover it for yourself and then choose. In each situation, you must ask yourself, will I respond with love or hate? Ooh. Things that make you go,
I had the headsets in here.
Uh-huh.
Wow, with the music in the background. That is so cool.
Oh, awesome.
She upgraded the system.
Yeah, I upped my
this
game.
Awesome software. It's like freaking good. Yeah,
no
great.
doubt. Yeah, it's really cool. So I thought we'd lead off with you, Teresa, and the harmony aspect and creation. And then we'll see what Jasmine and Brian, sorry guys, got a lot of things going on here, would like to say about natural law. And then Sophia will get to your presentation. I'm excited.
Okay.
Let's do it.
Cool.
So this is my little spiel about the harmony and balance and all that good stuff, huh?
Yes.
All righty. Gotcha. All right.
Just let me know when you want the slide.
Okay. Well, first, let me just say welcome and greetings, everyone. It's good to see you, and I'm glad everyone's safe from the storms and all the snow and ice, because that was touch and go there for a while for most of us.
Yeah, you guys got hit hard. Yeah,
this whole thing, this thing with natural law, I started out just getting to understand it because it wasn't covered in world religion studies all these years ago, and it's not something we talked about in Christian circle. You know, it's something we're just hearing about. But in studying it over the past few years, I've learned a lot about it, and I was sharing with Lori my perspective on it, and I see it as part of, as I mentioned in last week's show, I think, or the week before, I was mentioning it's ingrained in us. It's part of our imprint. It's a blueprint. It's part of our structure of when we were created. And when we created each thing, started to evolve, we developed a set of guiding principles that's inherent and innate in every single human being. Whether you activate it or not, it's there. And to call it a law per se, it's really a guideline or a tool. And I see it as part of the frequency of source energy. And therefore, I see it as Dalibor and I talked about it numerous times. We see it as mathematical or almost a music. Um, just like we've had the show that we did on chromatics, and we did a show on sound, light. We've done a couple on that too. And so there's a melody to it, a harmony to it, a balance to it. And so we see it as a musical component. And so when we express our emotions and express our love and put it into English terms and words and take it out of the field of symbology and put it into practical everyday use and bring it into our consciousness, it's how we treat one another, how we speak to one another, our thoughts, how we think about things. And so there's a musical component there. So Lori brought up these charts, and if you want to bring the first one up, it shows that music and spirituality are closely linked. Music often being used in spiritual practices and other experiences to promote healing and create altered states of consciousness. And just as there's chords and you have notes with two notes being played at the same time, you have different energies being interacted on at the same time. There's a series of chords performed in repeated pattern of progression, which you'll see over on the right, to create a chord. And then Pythagoras would, back in the day, measure the distance between these changes in energy fields, and understanding pitch, cadence, all these different components that pull together to create a piece of mixed music, if you will, or a track. Some people call it a track. But it's the same way spirit works with altered states of consciousness, where you have polarity, where you have groups of notes that create dissonant vibrations, or you have groups of notes that are in perfect synchronization with one another. So it's all flows together into an attunement with our environment. But this goes for both the seen and the unseen components of it, if you know what I mean, which we'll get to in a minute. But music has the power to override all other vibrations of the mind, especially those that are dissonant and inharmonious. Moreover, sound is closely connected to our soul. This is a concept that's been known since, I guess, early on. You can see symbols relating to this in ancient Egypt. You can see the symbol and how they used resonant frequencies in the pyramids. You can see it in the ancient Chinese cultures long before the European time period, and long before the philosophers that Lori talked about in the opening video. But so harmony is a fundamental aspect of music that involves a combination of all these things together, played simultaneously, creating a rich and complex sound. The Greeks had a word for it called harmos, which referred to an agreement between characters or elements, an agreement between characters and elements. Meaning was joint, like a joint in your body, a joint, a juncture, a place of connection. And so if you go through and you put all your pieces together, at some point you're going to have an almost perfect alignment with source. And that's what the next slide is going to show. This is showing how you have a sound, and it leads to meditation. You can use it for healing. You can use it to bring a sense of peace and joy. It has the ability to evoke a lot of different kinds of emotions. And there are, as you get through your reconciliation of things going on in your life, discovering the grace and mercy that you have within you to open yourself up, you are now ready to reconnect with spirit. And so there's this joint of alignment between reconnection and what the artist was showing here with the harmony, calling it the mountain of alignment. So all of these sounds and emotions and thoughts of the heart, the mind, the body, the soul, all come into play to create this magnificent connection that connects you to source. But you always have that connection. You just don't always know how to activate it, or sometimes you're living in a harmonic field of resonance that doesn't allow you to make that connection. And I just want to say with this, there is software out there, and we were just noticing it with Lori's opening video, and time alignment tools that ensure that your harmony music tracks are in tune and in time with the rest of your music mix, meaning you can carve out space for each harmony and each part that's played in a musical composition to ensure that you can clearly hear with the voice or the volume of the key element. And in this case, it's her voice giving a narrative. But you hear how subtle the music is in the background, but it's very deep and rich. And it's harmonizing at a frequency that allows her to bring her frequency in. So they're not conflicting or competing with one another or resisting one another. So what you were hearing in that opening video was between the visuals and the graphics was the sound in the background, very subtle, but very harmonious with her harmony, her frequency. And we in turn hear that language and absorb it as a communication. And it's coming from spirit because all of her videos are actually recordings and downloads. They're automatic writings that she puts into the video production. So she's very mindful of the balance between these harmony. She has a background in music. She composes music and she plays music, and she also has the video graphics design. So she's one of those that's gifted in multiple ways, but she knows how to work with harmony. Now, getting out of the whole music thing, the definition of harmony that we have today is wholeness, fullness of who you are in your spirit, soul, and body in harmony, peace, rest, knowing, and density. It also relates very closely to one's identity. When our spirits come alive and are connected to source, or what we call God, or some of us call source energy, we begin to resonate with our true identity when we've made that joint and made that connection, and we're in harmony and alignment. Everything that exists is vibrating at a certain frequency. And so remember the scripture saying, God said, let there be light. He was also releasing sound and energy through his breath work, surrounding us and holding everything together. And it's been vibrating ever since the beginning of time, ever since the first utterance that humans made in language form. So I wanted to point out there's a spiritual dimension, a mind-body connection, and renewal and restoration. So with harmony, on a spiritual dimensional level, it's achieving spiritual pursuit and allowing for deeper connection with the divine through laws. As people start talking about laws. Mind-body connection. It involves aligning one's thoughts, emotions, and physical actions to create a state of inner coherence. And renewal and restoration involves achieving harmony so that individuals can experience ongoing renewal and restoration in their lives, in the way in which they live their lives. Very briefly, the ancients, the early Chinese, Indian civilizations, the Greek philosophers, as Lori mentioned in the video, and then later on the Essenes, were all teaching this concept of balance and harmony on a spiritual level. And one that I want to hone in on very briefly and very quickly so that we can move on, because it starts to bring you into the whole concept of natural law, which wasn't articulated as such until the time of the Hellenistic period in Greece. But before then, and even after then, like the Essenes, they saw it all as thought. Okay? So they believed that harmony and peace could be achieved by understanding one's relationship with the world and their own being. They taught that people could create harmony in 7 areas of life: physical, mental, emotional, social, cultural, and their relationship with nature and the cosmos. They had a 7-fold practice of peace. And in their 7-fold teachings of peace, they believed that people had the acting, feeling, and thinking body. The thinking body is the highest, most powerful. It is of wisdom. The feeling body is love, and the acting body translate those powers into action. So with these natural laws, these guiding sense of principles, it allows them, they believed, to use these powers and forces to create harmony and peace through the way in which you control your thoughts and manage your thoughts. Let's see. Their teachings keyed in on and concentrated around peace with the mind. The terminology that they used was superior force. They said more powerful than the force of either feelings or actions, because thought is the instigator of both your feelings and your actions. So the totality of individuals' thoughts was called their thinking body. And the totality of thoughts in all the hundreds of millions of thinking bodies around the planet, around the earth, forms the planetary thinking body. There's another totality of all the superior thoughts in the universe forming a cosmic thinking body, or a cosmic ocean of thought, all in harmony and in balance. The cosmic function of each individual's thinking body is to create thoughts so superior of a quality that they can unite with this cosmic ocean of thought. So they considered it to be their highest gift from source, thought. For it and it alone gives a person the capacity to become conscious of laws, of these guiding principles. So if you have control of your thoughts and you're in synchronization with your own thoughts and you focus them in a certain frequency, you will be forever connected at a much higher perspective to lead your life and govern your life in a certain way. So to understand it, to work in harmony with it, to perceive its manifestations in all its surroundings, in himself, in every cell and molecule of his physical body, in everything that is, and to realize the omnipresence and omnipotence of self by becoming conscious of these laws that Sophia is going to talk about tonight. By understanding them, by acting in harmony with them, the human man, being, woman becomes a co-creator with God, or co-creator with Source. And there is no greater or higher value in the universe. So that's what I'll leave it at that. It goes deeper than this. I have a 158-page manuscript for the teachings of the Essenes on this topic. If you want a copy of it, I'll be happy to hand it over to you. But the one thing that it did say, Sophia, if mankind fails to become consciously aware of these laws and doesn't look into them or study them or absorb them, he is deviating from it unknowingly, for he is surrounded by fields of inharmonious forces, prompting him into further deviations. These deviations then create all the imperfections in this world, all the limitations and negations in thoughts and feelings and physical well-being in this environment, in society, in the entire planet. Every time man creates or accepts an inferior thought, he is accepting an inferior force into his world. The power of these natural laws is what helps keep us in practice to prevent these disequilibrium or whatever they call it. Equilibrium that keeps us in balance. Mm-hmm. So that's why this subject is so very important. These are the ancient teachings and modern teachings on the subject. And I just thought of how interesting it was. Later on in conclusion tonight, I might mention how some people see it as a symphony or an orchestra, all playing in harmony. So thank you for the time. But I just thought it was really fun thing to cover because it's a fresh perspective on the laws, you know, as part of your fabric of your very being and soul.
Dead End Collective. Haven't seen you before. If I did, I don't remember. There's a strong morality within natural law, which is not based on thought or harmony. In fact, they often coexist. Do you have any comments on that, Teresa?
Yeah, I was looking into that myself because there's ethics, there's morals, there's values, And it depends on how you define each one of those for yourself. But you're right. Morality is not necessarily in of itself part of the equation of the mathematics, but it is the thoughts that you have formed around what you believe to be your values and your ethics. And so I would have to disagree to some extent with that statement, because even though it's not one of the fundamental underlying principles mathematically or musically with harmony, it has an effect on the harmony when your values and ethics are at conflict with that which is for your greater good or that which is for someone else's good or the greater good of the conscious humanity. Then it affects the harmony, then it affects balance. Okay, so it's up to us as individuals how we craft and hone and shape our moral code. And your moral code and my moral codes can be perceived quite differently. I might be more tolerant of certain things than you are. You might be more tolerant of certain things than others are. But if that moral code isn't in alignment with your sense of peace and higher purpose, then it creates a dissonance effect, which then affects the harmony and balance of all other relationships in and around you. That would be my response.
Well said. Well said. Wonderful. So let's go ahead and get to Jasmine. Jasmine, I'm curious as to what your interpretation of natural law is, what your understanding of the topic tonight, and what can you add to the discussion with that?
I'll add on right for where Teresa left off
Okay.
about that answer. So there was this theory that I heard from a Native American. His name is Rainbow Eagle, and he comes to the shop sometimes. And he says that in their belief, they don't have good or bad. There's no such thing as the devil. There just is. And so if I am, because I'm not all too familiar with the natural law. I've always wanted to learn more, but there's so much information out there about natural law, and I'm just like, is this right? Is this not right? Like, I don't know. Like, is it the Hermetic principles? Is it this? Is it a crossing? Like, there's
right.
Now there's music in it, so I'm like, okay. But applying what he said to what Teresa and the Dead End Collective brought up is more of like, so you have your major and your minor chords, right? So that could be your positive and your negative understandings. So, and if his perspective, if it just is, because there's beautiful minor music, you know what I mean? The dark operas, those are beautiful. But I think the biggest thing that he would bring up is he said that it all comes back to balance. When is it out of balance? Is it too much light or is there too much dark? So I think in that sense, that's how they coexist.
Really good point.
Yep, good point. Very good point. Yep. Have you ever been to a movie that is using soundtrack to evoke an emotion where all of a sudden it sounds like a record where they've dragged something? It's a stop, and it's like, and it's like all this noise, and you're like, oh my God, I hate this. Because they're in the middle of a Jack the Ripper kind of thing going on. So it's meant to disturb you. It's meant to evoke an emotional response that takes you completely out of alignment with anything having to do with pleasure or joy. Unless you like really get off on that kind of thing, which I know people who do. They get, oh, this is great. I'm like, what?
Careful what you're feeding your brain.
So I have noticed on certain movies, especially there's where the soundtrack plays a huge impact, kind of like with Laurie's intro, you know what I mean? Like her words have so much power to them, or like it's immersive is the word I'm looking for, of when you have these pieces that are working together for a common goal versus fighting each other. And I think that's where the real dance of this natural law comes into play for me, like from what my current understanding is that it's all these different pieces of life, all these different pieces of philosophy that are coming together and trying to form this cosmic dance to this orchestra of music. And, you know, like music to me could be the runes, because when I first saw the runes, I saw music around them. and I was so drawn to the sound that they were playing. So to me, it's more about, natural law reminds me of balance, and it comes back to math of what you do to one side, you have to do to the other. And I feel like it's
reciprocity.
Yes, it's kind of like, yeah, what you put out, you get back. You know, your whatever matches your vibration. Water does it naturally too. In science, like that's the reason why we have condensation on liquids, is because there's like, oh, there's more water on that side than there is on this side. Let's make it even, which I think is beautiful, that nature has a natural win-win outlook. It's only when we manipulate it or we try to control it that it gets out of balance. So
love this.
I think that's my take on it right now. And for me, it's like, I want to walk, when Teresa says harmony, I don't want to go against my own natural winning. Like, I don't want to go sabotage myself and start, you know, not making sense to my own life.
Yeah.
But I probably sound chaotic to like my mom or my sister, and they're just like, I can't stand you. I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like, I'm not, I'm not everyone's symphony. That's totally fine. But I think it's more about finding out what's the drum of your own beat. And I think the laws kind of help you figure and navigate that. Not that there's
good guidelines.
Wrong. Yes, not that there's anything wrong with the light or dark. I think that if you play with the dark, it's not as forgiving. So I would highly suggest to learn the basics with natural law before you start playing with that. It's kind of like, what do you want to learn to cook with? A butter knife or a sushi knife? Like, you're
right.
There's margin for error.
Well, it's like that. It's like that Indiana Jones when they're in the cave and they found the chalice, you know, and the old knight says, "Choose wisely." Yes. Which one you pick, because one will bring you life and immortality, and will help you with your resurrection into the afterlife. It will lift you. That's a metaphor. The other will destroy you. So can you be destroyed by goodness, ultimate goodness and purity and love? And can you be destroyed? Or can you be destroyed by giving into some of the darker natures of things? So for each person, there's a right and a wrong.
I think you can have an extreme of both. You can have someone that's extremely light, or that they go either extreme light, and then they start going into a controlling dictatorship. Like, that's not good. Like, it completely closes their mind, completely closes their heart, and that's too extreme, right? Or you have too extreme dark, where everything's nihilism, nothing matters. You know, it doesn't matter who you kill, what you do, blah, blah, blah. I think the word that I grasp out of natural law, and what I feel like my guys are screaming to me, they're like, it's simple, it's just balance. There's 14 laws for balance. That's it. And I'm like, okay, I won't mess with it then. So that's what I got.
So Dead End Collective, I think natural law is based on morality, and that it can be chaotic or harmonious. What I mean by morals is the balance of understanding. Yep. And that's pretty much what Jasmine is, her point is.
Good point, Niall. Good point.
Yeah. Morality for humanity, like humanism, because like morality to me, it still has like right or wrong, but to me it's like inhumane. I feel like that's the real darkness, is when you act inhumanely.
Yeah. Jasmine, Elderberry's got a question, so I want to know if you will answer this one. Oh, I think he's saying it to Grandpa Brian. Okay. How do you bring a person to alignment? I've always been told you have to heal yourself. Grandpa Brian, I think he's referring to you. So if you want to, I'm sorry about that, Jasmine. I didn't notice the GP part.
It's about looking within yourself. Whenever I do work on somebody to help align them, it's about going in and looking what's out of balance, looking at their chakras, seeing if there's something in their chakra system that is out of balance, and bringing balance to that chakra. I really don't perform a lot of healing on myself, just for the fact that I feel I really don't need a lot of healing, because I don't really get sick, or I have not been injured, knock on wood. So,
yep. Gotcha. Courtney, I get what you're saying, the Dead End Collective, especially as the topic is natural law. Yep, we're just doing our little roundtable here, getting into that. Sophia is going to really address natural law and get into it much deeper. So right now we're just expressing some opinions.
What is natural law? Because everybody has a different perspective on it.
Exactly, and that's the point here. That's what we're trying to get across to the audience. So, Brian, for you, what is natural law? What's your understanding of natural law, and how do you see that? And then after that, we'll get to Sophia's presentation.
I really have not studied natural law. I've heard about it here and there. I think it's guidelines of how we should be as humans and as a spirit. Music. I used to listen to a lot of music. I really don't listen to music anymore. For me, the sounds of nature is what really brings me into that harmonious frequency. Listen to the birds to build what's all around me. I kind of put music aside. I don't know why. I just really don't listen to music much anymore. Now on Wednesdays, and our drum circle, that drumming, I don't know what it is about that, but you can just feel it going throughout your whole body, that beat, that vibration. And that actually helps raise my vibration.
Gotcha. Yeah, Courtney, it's nice to cover natural law because there's a difference between natural, universal, cosmic, and law. Yes, absolutely. Yeah. You're right. You're correct.
And get to that good and bad thing. You know, there's also neutral too. There's people out there that they don't lean towards that bad and they don't lean towards that good. They're just staying in that neutral position through this lifetime.
Well, then they're balanced, are they not? You know, I mean, they're taking an observer, a higher conscious approach to it.
Exactly.
I tell you something. When I've been worked in child development for years, and preschool and before care and after care. And it's interesting to me when you see these young ones because they haven't developed enough yet. They're only a toddler, you know. They do have the examples of their siblings and their parents around them. But for the most part, when you put them on a playground together, different nationalities, different languages, how they react and interact with one another, you will see one make a decision to do something harmful to another, pull their hair, push them off the sandbox edge, throw sand in their face. That they might make this decision to do something very disruptive. And other members of that group sitting around, the other children, don't like it. And they will, in a positive way, say, you know, Petey, that's not nice. That hurt Karen. Don't hurt Karen. Or Petey, that's not right. And when you ask some that are more verbose and you tell their parents about and have a conversation with their parents are like, we've never had to correct her. We've never had to tell him or her anything like that. They're just too young to know the difference. When they do something stupid, it's stupid. We don't reinforce it one way or the other. That's coming from the child. They'll say that's coming from I haven't done anything to teach them anything like that yet. And it's because that's what we're going to be talking about here is that you know the difference between something that creates harmony and something that creates disharmony from a very early age without even being gone to school and taught ethics yet, without even having had your parents guide you or your teachers or coworkers. It's self-correcting. Why? Because it's built in to the very fabric of our core soul essence. And so we know the difference. And people will talk about right versus wrong, good versus evil. I'm not one of those that lets go of that, just so you know. It's not that I have a closed mind, but I know the difference between that which is purely evil and that which is purely good. I know the difference. Okay. So if people want to pretend that evil doesn't exist, fine. Or you feel evil doesn't exist, that's fine. You have that right. But I know from the very beginning of my life, in the first 3 years of my life, I knew when something was being done that was evil.
Mm-hmm.
And I knew that Mother was there and Spirit was there, which represented purity and light and hope, and spoke to me and brought me through it. So I know the difference. Okay.
Yeah.
Now, other people may not, and that's
Mhm.
okay. They don't. But what I find compelling about studying these laws is that they are a reminder of how you can choose to act or respond or think about certain situations, and how you can use them as a roadmap to your own success and your own peace and harmony, and therefore to the rest of the world. I would rather have a bunch of people studying what is natural law and having these kinds of conversations like we're having tonight than to say they're going to tear apart somebody's car and put chains all over them because they don't believe, or they're going to go beat up a bunch of people.
Yeah. So let's go ahead and get to that. Sophia, did you want to make a comment first before we get into your presentation?
Yeah,
Thank you, Teresa.
Thank you, Teresa. All of you. This is a lot. So kind of along what Teresa was saying, when you have different kids from different parts of the world that really don't speak the same language, technically we all do speak the same language in some regards. Our first language is energy.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
Very first one is energy. I feel that it's the degree, the intensity, the vibration that certain person is putting off, and that helps us, those that are sensitive and aware, what they're bringing to the table or not. Speaking to the harmony, I would say, like Jasmine said, nature wants to seek a balance. I feel that that's natural for there to be balance. The phases of the moons, the cycle of the year, ultimately you take a step back far enough, you're going to see a cyclical nature. You're going to see balance. You're going to see the cause and the effect. And then as far as music is concerned, I love the fact that you had the scale there, because that in and of itself may be a topic that we may want to delve into in the future, because there's a lot of power and wisdom in that thought and doctrine teaching. So, but as far as like the major and the minors, I have employed what are called energetic coping skills, using color, using music. Because a lot of my journey has been by myself. There wasn't anybody there to mentor me, or I had to figure it out myself. And speaking to what Jasmine said about the minor keys and the major keys, being very sensitive, if I would find myself like very manic or very keyed up, haha, see what I did there on accident? Thank you, Spirit.
Natural.
Right. Well, if I'm very manic, I would listen to minor keyed music because it will pull you down. Right. So if you're already in the middle and you listen to minor keyed music, it's going to make you cry. So, example. But anyway, the other is if you're depressed and struggling, listening to major key music in an upbeat tempo is going to help relieve and pull you into a more centered and balanced. So it's a lot of
higher
what
vibration.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A lot of what I bring forward, I don't bring forward for debate. I don't bring forward for conflict. I bring forward what has assisted me in a very powerful way. A lot of what Lori said in the beginning is they're not changeable. It's why I love the periodic table, is because, it, hydrogen is always going to be 1. Helium is always going to be 2. And there is nothing anybody can do about it. It's been that way. It will always be that way. And in a world and a life experience that has been drastically changing, and feeling out of control, to know that there are things, concepts, laws that are like, you know what, no matter what, the price of beans could go through the roof, but natural law and other laws, they're unchangeable. They always have been, and they always will be. And that type of thing, for somebody sensitive like myself, very, 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 very comforting.
Yeah.
I would say, because there are so many laws out there, technically I've come across about 36 of them. There can be a lot. I know, Jazz, right? There can be convolution, just like with the runes. You dive into it and you're looking around and you're like, oh, dude, and then sometimes you'll take a step back. So a lot of what Spirit has impressed with me to bring forward are the 9 basic laws of manifestation. Okay, I'm not here to debate. I'm not here to pick a fight. If you see something in one of my slides that doesn't resonate with you, that's okay. I'm just bringing forward what I find great comfort and traction and success. So
cool.
let's go.
Lay it on.
Oh, mercy, no pressure.
What do you say? Roll that bean footage?
Yes. I gotta quit doing that, because someone might call me out and be
I
like,
love that. You are dating yourself, you know that, Sophia.
Yeah.
I know. So, anyway, this is the cover. A lot of the following 13 slides, if you buy this book, which I have 2 copies, and mine is, a little tattered and worn, a lot of what you're going to see in these slides is going to become familiar, and it's very hard to pick all of this content to put on these slides. So Reverend Terry Ryan is one of my mediumship development teachers. He's recently retired, and I miss him something awful. But I told him, about the show, and I was like, hey, can I use your book? And he's like, absolutely. I was like, it might be a little verbatim, and he was like, whatever it takes. Because when you come from a place of self-limitation, poor programming, and listening to a culture that doesn't want to do anything but give you medicine and take your money, it's this is peace for me. This is shelter. So, all right. Hey, I can control this, can't I? Yes, I can.
You can.
All right, Lori, here we go. All right. So, foundational manifestation with natural law. I saw Courtney's comment saying that natural law, cosmic law, universal law are different. We're going to have to talk later, because I feel that they're very similar. So, again, I like to focus on the commonality, and I've got other things to do other than pick fights. So that's my old self.
I love that.
So there is my lovely teacher, Terry Ryan. The name of the book is The Keys to the Kingdom. And I am forever grateful for him, his time, teaching, mentoring. I mean, he told me, call me, text me anytime. And it's very comforting, because his knowledge of this, I feel almost inadequate to talk about this after talking with him. But it was, I did receive permission for everything that you're going to see tonight. So if you buy the book and you see a lot of commonality, I got permission. So thank you, Terry. Love you.
Love you, Terry Ryan. Thank you so much for your support.
He's amazing.
Yep, we love you and appreciate you.
Yep.
All right.
And we
Trace.
miss you.
Yes. Yes.
He's up north now, isn't he? Or no, he's further north.
He's in the Detroit area, suburbs. And I bought his house at camp, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it. So Energy 100. This is my opinion, and here we go. So energy is neither created nor destroyed. It moves. And for me, energy is inherently neither good nor bad. For me, vibration determines the nature of the thing. So kind of like the old school in the 80s where you had the equalizers. You know, you have the vibration, the frequency, the intensity. There's a lot of signatures that come along with not only natural law, but navigating the different elements of not only ourselves, our surroundings, the universe, everything vibrates. Natural, and like I said a little bit ago, natural law has always been, it always will be, and everything. And that's why when Jazz was saying things about nature, I'm like, that's right. Everything is subject to natural law. So, and it'll be that way long after we're worm food. So, yeah, and this cool little picture over here to the right, when I deal with clairvoyance, I've had energy, kind of like orbs, if you're into paranormal. So that's my interpretation of what some energy looks like to me. So kind of proud to find that little clip.
Good representation of it, because
Yeah,
I've
it is.
actually seen them.
Exact same thing.
I recorded them.
Yes, I remember that. We need to do another shows too.
Yeah.
Okay, so we are focusing on the 9 laws of the cycles of life. So back in the day when I was that angst filled, I really don't want to be down here individual, the first thing that I was missing is the law of love. Okay, so the love is the creative source. It's on the scale, love is the highest frequency that we're aware of, whereas fear and anger would be on the lower part of the scale. So when you get and allow yourself to release things that no longer serve you and do the work, learning to vibrate at love, you tap into the creative force. So freeing yourself from negativity can allow you to get at and maintain that frequency, but it requires work, diligence, and dedication. It's not something you're going to wake up and be like, yo, I'm here. You know, you have to purpose to want to be there. It's purifying, and like I said, it's the highest vibration we currently know of. So that's where it all starts, is with love. So if you're not one of them love and light people, you may want to, yeah. No. So, and
you might want to rethink that friendship.
well, you know, what's it doing for you? Is it working for you? Do you just have the life that you're surrounded with? Is that what you want? So, I mean, everybody's on a different page. This is what worked for me. Continuing, the law of mind. So what Lori touched on in her clip, and then what Jazz was talking about, what Teresa was talking about, I almost kind of teared up, because what Lori came up with, what Teresa came up with, what I came up with, we did not share our homework.
Right.
They had no idea what I was bringing, and I think it's funny that a lot of what is in my background and the colors is kind of similar to what Lori did, and I'm like, all right, spirit. So this unconscious connection, and that has to do with the mind. The universe is entirely mental, hence ESP, other things like that. And what we think, what we say, what we do affects other things. So learning to control the mind, calm the mind, focus the mind, there is immense power once you allow yourself to get to that point. And it's a choice. You know, if you don't want to control your mind, enjoy your manifestations.
Well,
but if you would like to produce something positive, this is where it starts.
And without the body, you're pure consciousness.
This is true.
So it is all about thought.
It really is.
Interesting.
So the third thought has to do with, or law, the third law, and these are in no particular order. This is just the pattern that Terry Ryan used, I've employed, and I feel compelled to share. So these are a lot of his original ideas. These are not mine. These are his. So the law of thought and attention, we've said on this channel over and over and over and over and over. Thoughts are things, energy follows thought. Sound familiar? That's where I got it from. And when I'm vibrating in a frequency of love, I'm controlling my thoughts. Then I take my mind, then I take my mind at a high frequency and I'm like, okay, what process? Things start to move forward and then the intention is like the crosshairs. So you have the correct frequency, you have the balanced mind, you have the thought of what you're looking at, and your intention is the bullseye. That's how I interpret this. And then every changing condition, so I was miserable and angry as a child, it's preceded by a change in mind, a change in thinking. So if you don't like what's going on, perhaps you should consider something else. See if that works. See if that helps. It did for me. So that is where this is another thing that came right out of Terry's book. We have the law of love at the beginning and then the law of mind, law of intention. So it becomes a cyclical, it becomes a habitual pattern that can keep us focused to get the traction and momentum that we deserve, tapping into that creative force that is available for all of us. This is not just Terry, this is not just me, it's not just, focusing on these particular laws and this type of sequence, I have found to be very, very, very powerful. So love and wisdom. And I feel like wisdom is the bridge between love and the mind, because you can't get to the mind unless you're at the frequency to be like, oh, this might be the best approach because you're at a frequency of love. So,
no, it's the same thing the Essenes were saying, is they threw wisdom in there as being the highest point of the mind.
Yes.
Is the wisdom. That was the thinking body.
Yes.
Is wisdom, the bridge,
And it really is the triad when you look at it. Love, intention, thought, intention, and mind. It all comes together for the one. And that's really what the body encompasses, in my opinion.
Yeah, I didn't want to get too far down, but when I was studying this felt like the engine and the car.
Yeah.
You can't really get anywhere in a vehicle without an engine, and then applying it becomes the transmission.
All the working parts. Yeah.
Right. So that's what I got out of it. The other thing that I found very powerful to balance the mind, you have meditation and all the wonderful myriad of approaches to do that. But this circle of creativity is also in his book. And what you think, you create. What you create, you become. What you become, you express. What you express, you experience. What you experience, you are. What you are, you think. What you think, you create. What you create, you become. So it can become a lightweight mantra to soothe ourselves in a very chaotic, potentially chaotic world. So it's like when everything's, your mind's going a little wild, it's like, okay, what I think, I create. What I create, I become. What I become, I express. And it was very just like energetically, yes. And I had to put this in here because the comfort that came from that, I could not keep it to myself.
It's a mind cleanse. It's kind of a mind cleanse. Yeah.
I was going back to your triangle. The foundation of that triangle is the thinking and the mind. Love is at the point where that energy converges in love. So would it be safe to say that this cycle, this constant of what you have, controlling your thoughts, of having your balance, of thinking, the thinking mind, is what enables you to activate the heart and the love? Because how can you have love without thinking?
Correct. I would agree with that completely. It's the liberty and the freedom that I found with these concepts, that if hope, and I'm careful with that word as well, because the Stoics are not a big fan of the word of hope.
No.
But if light can be restored within someone, or balance be restored, when I have the privilege of working with somebody and they choose and allow progression, and you see them 6 months later, and it's like they're a different person. I just feel it's so important to know that this is out there. And I went so long without it. I'm not getting emotional. Next slide. Okay. So this is kind of like a little thought board here. So be clear in your thought and intention. Mind your strength of will. We all have free will. We use our vibration of love, our minds, our thoughts to push our will. It can be pushed in any direction. So a lot of people have a lot of natural strong will. So when you are entertaining these concepts, some people don't realize how loud energetically they are. So understanding your might, which is your power, and your main, which is what you look or feel like, can also help. Let's see. Yeah, an abundance of love and wisdom. There's wisdom. Will provide universal energy to bring about the desired outcome and manifestation. It's definitely, for me, a cyclical thing. And notice it's going clockwise. Coincidence? I think not. And another Stoic is progress, not perfection. Just keep going. Incremental change is still change. And Rome wasn't built in a day. Props to my father. All right. So what kind of got caught off at the top there, we're getting into the fourth law out of the 9 that we're focusing on in this segment. The law of vibration. Everything. And I mean everything. And yes, even that rock and even that coworker that you want to throw said rock at, just kidding, raising the vibration. It vibrates. It does. And if you see it and it doesn't look like it's vibrating, it's because it's vibrating in a very low frequency, but everything moves. And here's the cool part that I just loved. The individual rate of vibration determines the nature of the thing. So I would say that frequency is more where it can be projective or receptive. Okay. We're getting into some energetic math here, but keeping it simple, so we don't introduce confusion, is everything. See, humans vibrate at a higher frequency than nail polish, because we have thought, we have a lot more going on. Therefore, energetically, we're moving faster, but this is still vibrating.
Right.
So it's just, if you've ever experienced what I have called amber vision, everything has a hue to it, but the things that are active, like people and animals and, plants, they're a lot brighter than everything else. So that would be an illustration of the law of vibration in this context.
Would it be safe to say then that another way of looking at it is that everything, whether it be a planet, a star, whether it be a person or an animal, a rock or a plant, everything has its own unique vibration based on how it's experiencing its surroundings and interactions. Exactly. But that they tune into and align with certain frequencies.
Yes.
Or channels, if you will, to make those different connections or to change their vibration patterns to be more connected with one another. So the frequencies would be the channels. Go ahead, sis. Lori, were you
just going to say, Lucky Stone has an interesting question, Sophia. I'd like to put this on your table real quick.
Oh, boy.
Does that mean everything has a spirit? Does frequency equate to spirit?
I have not delved into that rabbit hole to feel completely equipped to answer that. Do I feel this bottle of nail polish has a spirit? Not really. I'm not there.
As opposed to a tree?
Well, see, a plant, I feel, yes, they have spirit. I feel there's a difference between vibration and life force.
Right.
Okay.
Yes, there you go.
Where I would say the division happens.
There you go.
Yep.
So
That's a good.
spirit for me is life force. That's a spark. That's the fire.
Mhm.
Okay. So
Yep.
if it comes from a seed, which a plant comes from a seed, people come from seeds, human
Mhm.
comes from seeds. Let's not get into health class here, but you follow me.
Yeah.
Okay. You know,
Good enough.
this
Keep
does not
rolling.
come
You
from a
get what you're
seed.
laying down here.
Yeah. Let's keep it clean. That's different. That's after the show.
Okay.
I would say frequency and vibration determines
Mhm.
the nature of a thing.
Right.
Um, so that's the best I can do with that, Lucky. I hope that helped because I still feel like a novice and I will be a perpetual student. I'm just glad I have the opportunity to share.
I think spirits, lucky for me, it's spirits are um have a vibration just as we have a vibration, and they vibrate in different dimensions or frequencies of existence.
I would agree.
So it's not that they themselves are a frequency, they vibrate at a frequency or a channel or a dimension of beingness, depending on what they've achieved and accomplished in other locations, their whole cumulative experience of what they are, of what a being is. And it could be at a higher dimension, at a planetary level or a cosmic level, or it could be a being like an angelic being, or it could be an earth being or an elemental being. But it's just a different vibration that we tap into and communicate with if we're tuned into and aligned with their frequency. That's how I see it.
Agreed. Here's the thought though. Because we have a physical body and elementally speaking, Earth is the slowest and the heaviest, and
Yeah.
we're walking Earth. So naturally, having that spirit within us, we're able to vibrate at a higher frequency. Well, when this body decays, like everybody's does, our spirit and our mind still stay. So we go to a different dimension of existence because we lose our physical body. That's what I'm picking up. So having a physical body kind of pulls us
Pulls
down,
us
but
down into, yeah.
in the physical plane. So yeah, okay, cool.
And we can only vibrate to a certain degree, to certain frequencies at this physical plane, right?
I've heard some
We can
interesting
reach.
stories that would be a different show, but I would say that most people,
There you
most
go.
people. Okay, so here we go. This will be familiar for a lot of folks that get down with this kind of information. The law of attraction. How many books do we have on the law of attraction? Right? We even have seminars, kids. They're not cheap. Um, so the law of attraction is very powerful, and I love the fact that he puts this in the second set. Okay. Um, like attracts like, and it's like things are going to gravitate towards each other that's of a like thing. Birds of a feather flock together. Coincidence? No. Um, and the
What does that
strength,
say about opposites attract?
well, there always has to be a wild one in the bunch too.
Mhm.
So, let's see. And I like this because, the strength and intent of the mind and the willpower, okay, determines the nature of attraction. Okay. So let's just look at this as an intellectual. So what I'm seeing is like people that play chess, that's a different strength, a different mind setting, a different willpower, but yet they'll gravitate together because they find comfort in the commonality. So this, I would say, that's law of attraction. And then like for me, Magic the Gathering, those type of people, when they play that card game, or video game, they're attracted together because they have the same intensity. So that's what kind of come to mind with this one in particular. We could talk about this all night, but I know you guys don't want to do that.
When it comes to relationships, Sophia,
Mhm.
what you just described as different groups, like-minded people coming together, enjoying commonality.
Mhm.
But isn't there like a deeper, well, no, I don't want to say deeper. That's the wrong word. A broader perspective having to do with attracting experiences and things that happen to you in life.
It's a lot like this channel.
And right, people who are experiencing this channel will send messages that they have really had some positive experiences, and as a result of that, want to interact more.
Right.
And
People
then they implement what, right. But they'll take what they've learned and implement it in something that they do in their actions and deeds.
Right.
And bring back, as a result, more positivity into their life and forward movement.
Exactly.
Mine was the example of my brother. Taking the experience, putting out energy of compassion and understanding without resistance or fighting or competition, changing him and communicating with him and vibrating with him at a completely different communication level, and everything started happening like it was supposed to.
Right. We'll once we get to this last point, it'll pull itself together, because it's like we're in the middle of a thought or the middle of the next triangle, because there's 3 triangles to make the total of the 9. So we are right smack in the middle of the manifesting force, because the first 3 were the creative force. These 3 are the manifesting force.
Gotcha. Okay.
So, and I'm liking what Courtney's saying over here about form. We're going to get into that here in just a second. Hang tight, kids. But let's see. So after the law of attraction, we have the law of cause and effect, which Jasmine kind of touched on earlier. But with natural law coming into place, there's no accidents, there's no coincidences. Things that unfold are generally because something started over here, it's going over here. It's a very, because we want balance. So we have cause and effect. So in all things, that we manifest, so kind of like what I've said before, what we throw out on the tide comes back on the shore. So there's no accidents. It's causing balance. So what you put out there, like if you're putting out a bunch of applications, that's your cause. Your effect is getting the job. So that would be an easier way, I think, to describe this. So like I said, these 6, the first 3, the second 3, these are the manifesting force. We start with vibration, then we have the law of attraction, and then the law of cause and effect, and it's cyclical. So we've got one spinning over here with the creative force. We have another one spinning with the manifesting force. And then the last one is where the fruition starts coming forward. So the first one is the higher frequencies, getting in alignment, getting the balance. The second one is like, okay, what are we working with? Who are we working with? What are we focusing on? The law of intentions in the first one, but you follow me. It's like it's building on itself. So the third and final outcome force starts with form and substance. So that's what I was kind of talking about with what Courtney was saying. So an example of form and substance. Okay, so the totality would be church, all right, would be the equals, but you have people plus a building of faith equals church. You can't have the church, and just have the building. There has to be people in it. So the form and substance. So the substance, I feel, would be the people, the form would be the building, the outcome would be the church. Kind of like the substance would be the wine, the form would be the glass, and the substance would be the drinkable beverage. Okay. Does that make sense?
Does to me.
That one, that law right there, I tripped on it for months. I mean, tripped on it. So form requires substance to be of value. Substance requires form in order to manifest. And the church and the building and the people equals church. That's when it really clicked with me. I'm like, ooh, spirit. So I'm sure there's other examples out there. But that's where I'm at right now. And I'm still asking and working with spirit to get more clarity, because I am by no means a scholar. I'm just working with what I have and grateful for it.
Yep.
So this, I was given pause by this eighth law of the life cycles, the law of karma. Karma can be a controversial word, because kind of like the runes, and it can be so spread out that you're looking around going, karma dharma, what is, it can be very frustrating. But with this particular context and content, the law of karma, we're free to choose our own actions. Every action has a karmic reaction. So this kind of feels like cause and effect a little bit, but instead of it being in the manifestation cycle, which where cause and effect is, the law of karma is in the outcome cycle. So, and karma, a lot of people are like, oh, that you're going to get karma. Well, they're considering somebody doing something bad, getting bad karma. Well, there's good karma too. And it depends on what you're doing and what you're creating.
It's the universe's balance. It
Yes.
brings it right back into balance.
Yep, exactly. Like I said, this is 9 of 36 that I've discovered. So reciprocity is out there, balance is out there, gender's out there. I mean, this would be like a series if we really got cooking. So the third one to the cycle of outcome is the law of progression. And law of progression is a one-directional law. A lot of people think, oh, you're digressing. Well, when you move out of these natural forces that always have been and always will be, the unfoldment is chaos. And a couple of people had kind of talked about that, and I've got another slide that addresses that. But the law of progression is a one-way law. It's like knowing how to ride a bike. Okay, you can't unlearn how to ride a bike. It's that would be an example, like learning how to swim, learning how to drive. It might take you a second to pick it back up, but you're always going to have that type of knowledge, in a sound, quiet mind. So it's the force which impels us to achieve. We want to keep going, keep progressing, to excel, to know, and to experience. So we're building on our layers of love, knowledge, wisdom, to continue and manifest. So, and then the law of progression provides the assurance of constant evolution, progression in all things, including the human spirit. So you think of a plant, if it stops growing, what's wrong with it? It's dead. It's that simple. A plant's not going to go, oh yeah, never mind. I mean, that's an example, at least one that I found that helped this law make sense.
Yeah. Again, it's perception too, though, because I had a plant die that came back to life, and I wasn't expecting it to.
But
I walked away. I didn't even feed it. I didn't give it water.
Pick up where it left off, though, too, because I've had something that just kind of just sits there, like, then you feed it and water, and it's like, oh yeah, we're here. So here's the last triangle: the outcome force, form and substance, law of karma, law of progression, and it continues. So we have these 3 triangles that are spinning, which are the foundational energies to the cycle of life and manifestation. And I've seen it work. Example, takeaway and tips concerning foundational manifestation. Practice. This isn't something you're like, oh, I got it, I'm just gonna go do whatever I want now. Well, sure, go for it. But being persistent, being patient, and incorporating some of this understanding into your daily life, for me, it brought a lot of balance. It brought traction. It brought fulfillment. It's like, okay, here's the playbook that has somewhat escaped me my entire life. So, the other takeaway would be everything that you seek, which is thought and intention, let's go, cause and effect. Sound familiar? It's within your reach. And if it's not in your grasp, think, reach, intention, further, reach for it, because you can manifest it. Our limitations are in our minds and in our actions, in my experience. And yeah, believe, big capital letters, believe you deserve better and believe you can achieve it. It's there's also, you know, with the law of attraction, there's success seminars, and a lot of it has to understand the concept that you are worthy of being successful. A lot of us came through a lot of shame and a lot of limiting behavior, like you have to do it this way. Well, while that may have worked for someone else, we're all unique individuals. So never give up on yourself, ever. You can do it. This was one that comforted me and kind of got my attention. Ignorance of natural law does not exempt you from the chaos that unfolds outside of it.
Yeah.
Oh, I mean, is that not comforting and terrifying? It's like, okay, there's these laws that are in place and I don't know about them. And it's like you find out by default, like, oh shit, oops, up, go this way. Sorry about the S-bomb.
You can't not learn it. I mean, you can't.
It's a law of progress, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So, learning the flow and existing in that space is where what the challenge was for me when I started to pursue this, and pursuing positivity, seeking the truth. And the other one that I found a lot of traction too is being mindful of the people that you're around. Are you surrounding yourself with successful people, wealthy people, people that you respect, that respect you? Or are you surrounding yourself with people that have allowed a lower standard? So knowing that the people that you're around, and I'm not saying, you know, judge people, but be mindful of where you're vibrating and your frequency and where you're existing, because what you think about, you bring about. So
yeah, this is just one example of this, just one. And it has to do even with me when I was a teenager. But there are groups of people, before you've developed a certain level of maturity or emotional maturity, you tend, like attracts like.
True.
Misery loves company.
True.
And so you get involved with groups of people that just pull you into their circle of influence because you feel you resonate with them in a certain space,
Law
a
of
certain
attraction.
vibration, law of attraction. And so you start overindulging, doing things that you wouldn't normally do that bring you into all kinds of trouble. Trouble with the law, trouble with parents, trouble with school, trouble with your grades, physical problems, addictions, and on and on and on. And it can get out of hand. And you'll say to someone, well, if you don't want to be that way, why do you hang out with people whose focus is that?
They haven't had their moment of clarity.
Right. Right. And so that's the greatest challenge in working with those youth groups that have addictive behaviors, or even adults who are doing the same thing. I'm guilty as an adult, young adult in college, doing the same thing.
Looking for acceptance.
Yeah.
Right. Be accepted.
Trying to fit in.
Yeah.
Or you want someone to commiserate with because you don't get it from home. Right? You don't get it from your siblings or your brothers or your cousins or your best friend. You don't get it from your family, so you seek something outside of the family to get that validation. And so you want to fit in.
This is why, in my experience, this type of information being out there is so important, because most of us that have survived our angst, follies, brokenness, you know, you come to a point where you get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yep.
And if you don't resonate with certain doctrine, you're kind of twisting in the wind,
you
know. And the thing about natural law, it doesn't have a personality, you know. And I think that might be on my next slide. It just is. And if you exist in the same space and allow yourself the belief that you deserve better, and then here are the steps. You know, the first thing I need to do is do my inventory. Okay. do my inventory. How do I do that? You learn to love yourself. You learn to forgive yourself. You learn to look at for what it really is and not what everybody's telling you that it is. You find your truth. You seek your truth, and then you pursue positivity because you start feeling better. You're like, wait a minute, I convinced myself of a lie.
Yeah.
And now I'm trying
and
you believed it. You believed it wholeheartedly.
So having a choice to believe that you deserve better and that you can perceive it, controlling the mind and releasing old behavior, it's possible. That's why, in my opinion, this content is so powerful. Because if I knew this was out here and thou shalt not should thyself, it's like farting in church, thou shalt not should thyself. But man, if I'd have found this 20 years, 10 years earlier, but I am who I am and where I am for a very good reason.
Right.
So I'm just glad I found it at all.
Yeah.
Yes.
At all. All right. Let's see. So personal contribution, and see how tiny that print is. Accident? No. So I think it's really funny how the intro, Lori has, all those people and that orange person, and then Spirit impresses me with all these boats and that orange boat. That was a total coincidence. I was watching her intro like, oh man, okay, Spirit.
Yeah, that's a testament to how Spirit works through us all.
All the time.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
All the time.
I mean, a lot of people that have spent time with me knows, and a lot of people that are on the channels that we all, work to law of attraction. We've been miserable. We've been defeated. We've had an unpleasant experience. We believed our culture that just wants to take our money or give us medicine or have something their way, and it's the lack of knowledge, the lack of pure, unadulterated, unbiased. This is it is really what helped me change my mind, my outlook, my approach. And it didn't, happen overnight. It was like, I'm going to choose to look at the other side of it. This is not working for me anymore. And I'm tired of being miserable. So what recourse do I have? Change. And that's funny too, because that's also a law. The only constant in the universe is change.
Jasmine has a question for you real quick, Sophia. Sophia, can you explain why the laws brought you comfort? Was it bringing laws to chaos?
Okay. So the laws brought me comfort because it showed me my experience. It showed me the energetic guardrails. Okay. It showed me where the road is, where the flow is. So, I can vibrate at any frequency I want.
Sure.
But the healthiest is love. And for me, it's like putting your foot on a gas pedal. When you're at fear, there's no pressure on that gas pedal at all. You're just going like, oh, you freeze.
Yeah.
When you're vibrating at love, you're laying all the way into it. And until you're aware that there even is a law of love, you don't realize how sabotaged your approach is to life. It's like, oh, let's live in fear. Let's freeze. Let's not do anything, right? Knowing that you don't have to do that. The laws brought me comfort because it's source or spirit saying, if you do this, you're going to get a reaction. So when you're feeling stuck and stagnant, it's like, okay, if I take action, if there's a cause, there's an effect. And how powerful is your cause is how powerful your effect. It's the law of balance all day long.
Yep.
And it what's the other one? The law of mind. The law of mind. It was like I was getting in my own way.
Yeah.
With my own thoughts. And when I came to that realization, which is one of the first, yes, it is a long presentation. There's only one more slide, dead end. You can do it, buddy. But to answer Jazz's question, once I realized that I could stop the world's infiltration on my space, claim my space and say, no, I am not going to take a drink of whatever Kool-Aid you're trying to serve me. I am whole and complete as I am. That's the wisdom, knowing that you have a choice.
And standing in that personal power.
Right.
Yeah.
Just to touch on a couple of them, but it's just like there is a playbook. I don't have to read this chapter in this verse to ask someone to help me. I can help myself. Let's see. I am blessed, and I now have and use the tools to pursue success in employing natural law. They're tools to some extent. They're forces. It's like gravity. Gravity is a law. It's going to happen regardless. It does not care you have striped socks on. It doesn't care that fell on your foot. So I think this is on my last slide. No, it's not. I think I missed a slide somewhere. But thank you. That's my business. That's my name. That's my email. Have at it. But it's the one thing that I like is you cannot garner favor. You can't bribe them.
Right.
You can't beg them. You can't, if I'm good enough, then this is going to unfold. If I
negotiate.
If I give you this much time and money and that all of that is out the freaking window when it comes
can't cut a deal. Can't cut a deal.
Right.
Or you can, but you're dealing with your own darker nature. You're dealing with your own nature of taking that gamble of running down the wrong side of the road, that isn't good for you. Wrong being something that doesn't,
Yeah.
Well, and really the bottom line is you have choices. It's up to you what kinds of choices you want to make.
Well, while you were talking, Sophia, there was a little bit of chat. I'm sorry, Lori, can I just...
Sure.
There's a little bit of chat about progression and dharma being one and the same. And I've always, and that's a really good question that Courtney and some of the others were having a little discussion in there, because I thought I finally understood the difference between dharma and karma, and how people are always confusing the two.
I've got something on that.
Karma I see as a cyclical. That's why we repeat, because we create circumstances and events that didn't go the way that they could have, and we want to re-experience it in a different way because we want to keep trying to learn a lesson. And so we'll go into this cycle of reincarnation, and unless progression is made into a higher conscious awareness of the fact that we're creating those energies, we won't reach dharma, which is actually the full enlightenment and elevation of into your eternal immortal body. Is that right?
Well,
not right, but what do you think about that?
Okay, so kind of like the concentration of information that's on the internet and in the books, you start looking around at the storm of information. You're like, okay, and dharma and karma. I've been down that road. I've wrestled with that concept, and this is where I'm at least right now. Okay. Dharma is an aspect of truth or reality. Okay.
Ooh, I like that. Oh, okay.
Okay, now hold on to your tray tables. Okay, karma equals the sum and consequences of persons' actions during successive phases of their existence, right? And that determines their destiny. Okay, there's so much out there, but that is at least where I'm at now. So, and God bless. Can you imagine how many books are out there on dharma and karma? And it's like everybody thinks they have it right.
All these different,
Oh my gosh! But that's where I'm at. Dharma is an aspect of truth or reality. That's where I'm at, and karma is the sum of karma is the sum and the consequences of our actions. So that's what I'm holding on to until I find something else that resonates.
Yeah.
So, and that's also in Terry Ryan's book. A
Mhm.
lot of what you've seen in the slides is just scratching the surface.
Mhm.
So if any of this did anything for you, this book is only what, 113 pages long.
113 for the teaching itself. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like,
Mhm.
the
Yeah.
rest of it is references and terminology and
Breaking it down.
Yeah.
it's only like $13 on Amazon at the time that I bought mine, which
Yeah.
is whatever, a year ago.
Right.
Yeah.
And
So
it's laid out like a curriculum. It's laid out in an outline form like a course. So you can pace yourself with
excellent
it.
book. I've read it. It's a quick read. There's a lot of information in it. Highly recommend it. You guys, we're getting to the end of the show, and I want to thank Sophia for doing such a great job presenting this information, because you did a great job bringing it all to the table. We hope you got something out of it. But the bottom line is your ascension, your progress in life, and where you're at is entirely up to you. It's kind of like a tarot card reading. Take what resonates and leave the rest behind, because only you are the final say as to what you're going to believe in and what you choose is good for you. So, but the universe says love will conquer all. The universe has a whole different structure and understanding of it, but we're in the human form and we're learning all of that, and it's just a unique way to come at it. So fascinating stuff. Really want to thank you guys for being here. Teresa, thank you for your input. Grandpa Brian, thank you so much. Sophia, such a pleasure. Thank you. Really appreciate your knowledge, and you've come full circle, in my opinion, and you bring a lot to the table. So you're greatly appreciated. And everyone that comes on, Jasmine, our adorables, Grandpa Brian, appreciate all you bring to the table as well, and everyone in chat and the great comments that you've made. Really appreciate that. And also, if you guys could hit the like, that the algorithms would love you for that. Feed the algorithms, or don't. That's your choice. It's up to you.
I forgot to include in the YouTube description the link to Terry Ryan's book, but
you can get it on Amazon.
Just
put his name in there. It will pop up. Yes, you bet it will. Yep. Great read. Looking forward to seeing you guys next week, and appreciate you all being here.
Hey, Charles, he's here, buddy.
Go ahead.
Hey, Charles.
Quickly.
Any events or things that people should know about for this week or coming up soon?
I'm actually off this Saturday. It's going to be awkward, but here we go.
Oh, good. Take some time off.
There's the psychic fair
Recharge.
the first Saturday. I'm in all my relations every Sunday. Next Monday is the Tarot Development Group. The Runes Talk is the following Thursday. I just, if you're interested, reach out, and you can be a part of it. We have a really good time.
Yep. Busy little bee you are.
Yeah.
Spreading your love.
Yes.
All right. Be safe in the snow and ice storm coming up, folks, in the South.
And prayers for the people in California, please.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yes.
Awesome.
Yes.
Take care, everyone. We'll see you next week. Peace, love, and
light.